Independence Day is a vibrant tapestry woven into the threads of freedom, national pride, and the spirit of a nation. Every year, Americans rally to commemorate the moment these fledgling colonies cast off the iron chains of British dominion. However, the revered ideals of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness championed by Thomas Jefferson's pen, while the colonies proclaimed the right to self-determination, the institution of slavery thrived, casting a long shadow over the landscape of freedom. So today, we're going to talk about the day that July 4th was Black. And if you like stories like this, you can find more stories like this at onemichistory.com. Also, if you like to support the channel, you can do so on Bobby Coffee Patreon page in the description below. But without further ado, let's get started. Picture the antebellum South, a hive of bustling activity. Every July 4th, feasts and parades and rivers of alcohol freely flowed as white Americans from every corner celebrated with fervor. European visitors often marveled, noting that it's almost as if it was a holy day in America. Within this boisterous celebration, a quiet yet defiance emerged. Black communities with unyielding spirit embraced the national holiday with the declaration of their own citizenship and patriotism. It was their impassioned assertion that they too were threads in America's fabric. In response, though, July 4th was made a almost white-only affair. Consequently, Black people would often observe this occasion on July 5th to avoid violent reprisals from white Americans, as they also began to mark other significant dates with their commemoration. For example, in 1808, a celebration arose on January 1st, marking the day that the U.S. banned the transatlantic slave trade. Also, New York's gradual emancipation law took effect on July 5th, 1827, transforming that day into a beacon of hope. Additionally, August 1st gained gravity in 1834 when Great Britain abolished enslavement, offering another beacon of freedom. These days did not eclipse July 4th. They held their own weight against the scale of national independence. Sadly, though, these displays of patriotism were often met with violence. For instance, when Black communities held jubilant celebrations in Cincinnati to commemorate the West Indies' emancipation, they were met with the brutality of a white mob, thus ensuring a riot ensued in one of the most violent clashes against a free Black community before the Civil War. In Philadelphia, they witnessed a similar horror the following year, and in Boston, in the fall of 1857, Black citizens advocating for a state-recognized militia company were attacked by a white mob wielding bricks, leading to a riot and the militia having to defend their own. Throughout the 1800s, Black Americans yielded July 4th not as a symbol of national pride, but as a powerful argument for their own emancipation and full citizenship. They proclaimed that Black citizens, free and enslaved, deserved the unalienable right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, just as their white counterparts. Among the voices of dissent, Frederick Douglass gave a speech on July 5th, 1852 in Rochester, New York, called "What is a Slave on July 4th?" And in it unveiled the widening chasm between America's lofty ideals and the brutal reality of slavery, turning a national holiday into a moment of profound self-reflection. However, by the summer of 1865, following the Civil War, the landscape of July 4th celebrations had shifted dramatically, especially under the skies of the South. The Civil War left deep scars. The splinter of defeat hung heavy over former Confederates. To them, July 4th had transformed into a bitter reminder of their lost cause. Behind closed doors, white people in the South mourned in silence, the grandeur of former parades now reduced to ghostly memories. But in a vibrant contrast, a new spirit of jubilation burst forth in the hearts of African Americans. From avenues of Washington, D.C. to the bustling port of Mobile, Alabama, they erupted into a collective chorus of joy. Fireworks painted the sky, and voices once shackled now soared with readings of the Emancipation Proclamation, Declaration of Independence, and the newly announced 13th Amendment. After 1865, July 4th celebrations had a brand new meaning for Black Americans who could finally bask in the sunshine of liberty. In Charleston, the revelry took a life of its own. Every year, as the sun rose on July 4th, throngs of Black South Carolinians gathered, eager to witness the grand parade. In 1876, African-American militia groups, resolute and proud, marched with steps that echoed the names of their heroes, Lincoln, Atticus, Douglas, and Garrison. From the front lines of oppression to the forefront of liberty, some of these officers were once formerly enslaved. Now they led the way, a symbol of a fierce, hard-won victory. Their procession weaved through the city, culminating in the White Point Gardens. Here, in the shade of ancient trees, heavy crowds converged, the air alive with the scent of fresh fish, the sweetness of sassafras beer, and the rhythm of the cadence of vendors hawking their wares. On July 5th, 1872, even the Charleston Daily News couldn't ignore the scene, reporting that the whole colored population seemed to have turned into open air, and the gardens were so densely thronged that it was only with the uttermost difficulty that locomotion was possible amidst the booths, stalls, and sightseers. The Reconstruction era spirit of defiance and joy also embraced formerly enslaved women in the South who actively participated in the July 4th celebrations. Through the cobbled streets of Memphis, Tennessee, the Daughters of Zion and the Sisters of Zion strolled with purpose through their parades. In 1875, these groups even elected a queen for the day, a powerful assertion of dignity and respect in a time when such declarations were revolutionary. Also in South Carolina, freed men and women would join in a lively Tulaloo popular dance that mocked the rigid romance of their former white oppressors, becoming a symbol of African Americans' celebration of Independence Day in the Charleston era. By 1876, this jubilant expression had become Charleston's unofficial name for Independence Day. Yet, their jubilation was not shared by their white counterparts. The white people in the South resented seeing the formerly enslaved people celebrating Independence Day. Many of them viewed it as a dreadful day, while others stated that it was becoming a nigger day. Even some Northerners had become uncomfortable. At a 1865 celebration in Mobile, Alabama, Northern soldiers were overheard wishing that the freed formerly enslaved people were dead. As July 4th became more political, tensions reached a boiling point. In 1875, a white mob shattered a Republican rally in Vicksburg, Mississippi. The carnage led to a black deputy sheriff being killed. The following year, hatred brewed over in Hamburg, South Carolina, resulting in the brutal deaths of at least 7 African Americans at the hands of a white mob. This grim tide of violence curtailed any Reconstruction victories, enabling white conservatives to claw back power and cementing the Democratic stronghold over Southern government. Over Charleston's colorful street dances and jubilee parades slowly faded into the margins. By 1886, the Tulaloo had been nudged away from downtown, disappearing from the heart of the city. Public squares no longer harbored the sounds of black joy. Such spaces became threatening and unwelcome. By the dawn of the 20th century, South Carolina street vendors had been removed, snuffing out the last vestige of the Black July 4th public celebration. Soon, the narrative twisted further as white people made a mockery of the former celebration. An Atlanta newspaper mocked African Americans celebrating July 4th, stating that they were only there because it was watermelon season. By 1902, the baton had been completely passed back to white Southerners. Dixie resonated along parades that heralded both Confederate and Union soldiers, made it clear that Independence Day was only for real Americans, completely ignoring the fact that Confederate veterans had once tried to break up the United States. It didn't bother them because at that time there was a nationwide movement to reconcile the North and the South, and both sides emphasized the bravery of all soldiers while ignoring slavery and the Confederates' treasonous nature, all under the banner of white supremacy. In the grip of Jim Crow's shadow, rights were trampled on, voices were silenced, and violence was enshrined. The message was clear that African Americans were not considered worthy of the same freedoms as white Americans. And that included celebrating July 4th. Just as Frederick Douglass had pointed out in his speech, "What is a slave on July 4th?" Black Americans were not included in the nation's Independence Day celebration. Thank you. This has been One Mike, and this has been the history of the Black 4th of July. If you like stories like this, you can find more stories like this on my page, onemikehistory.com. I'd like to thank all my Patreon subscribers and my YouTube members. Without you, none of this could be possible. And thank you.